Welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Today is October 17th, 2023. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. As always, it is so good to have all of you here with me today. Just to let you guys know, the Jaybefaunt channel is available on all major podcast platforms. So go ahead, subscribe to me there. Also part of the Revolutionary Blackout Network. So you can find me there on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, as always. And if you would like to, you guys can go to my Substack at jaybefaunt.substack.com so you guys can get information on the articles that I may write, as well as any of the live streams or clips that I may be uploading on there as well. So you guys can get those email notifications, because we all know that sometimes the algorithm is not as reliable as it should be on here as well. So thank you so very much to all of you for subscribing there as well. Also, just to let you guys know, if you have not already, please make sure to give this stream a like. That pushes me out into the algorithm so that I may be able to be more visible, because, well, some things have happened and I got to talk about that in a little bit. But once I do that, then I will give you guys the update about what's been happening. So yeah. So thanks in advance for that as well. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a conversation today. I have a guest, so I would like to get into that. So before then once the guest is already departed, then I'll go into the chat and say my salutations to everybody that's joining. But I want you to think back when you were a child growing up. You had this perspective that whatever your parents did was right, even if you didn't understand it. You largely did what you were told, and if you didn't, you were made to, or you were coerced to, because I said so, right? But as you got older and you started to develop into your own mind and thoughts, you started to see the flaws of your parents. Just kind of like when you first wake up and you rub your eyes and your eyes start to adjust to the light, things start to become more into focus and you start to see clearer as you wake up. Well, this is exactly what many of us have experienced within the last 5 or 6 years, especially when we've been looking at the empire being the American government, the U.S. government, as we have been growing up in a way, so to speak. So how the more so is it for many journalists who have been waking up, so to speak, as far as seeing what the empire is and seeing it for all it really is, the good, the bad, and the ugly? I think this is very important. Which brings me to my guest. My guest is a writer and a journalist and has written for articles like the New York Times, Washington Post, Newsweek, and the Economic Hardship Reporting Project. I'd like to introduce my friend and journalist, Alex Miller, who joins me today. Alex, it's so good to have you with us. How you doing there, Alex?
Thank you so much, Jay. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the time that you maintaining it. I'm a huge fan of yours, as I told you before, and I think it's such a pleasure and a privilege to be joining you today.
Thank you so very much, and that's very kind of you. One of the things that I wanted to ask you first about was what inspired you to get into the work of journalism, and how did you enter into this field?
Well, I'd always, as a little kid, I knew that I wanted to be an artist. See, my father is a portrait artist, and growing up, I just imagined that I was going to be exactly like him. And I could draw a little bit for when I was a kid. I could draw a little bit, and then I get better. And then by the time I was 15, I realized I didn't learn how to draw, and I'm not very good at it. So, um, during that time period, my dad was trying to encourage me to be creative, but oftentimes he would, make these paintings or charcoal or pastel drawings, and he would work weeks, sometimes months on these pieces and only get paid like $50. And
Mm,
we would often barely have money to keep the lights on. So in my mind, I thought, I don't want to do that. I don't want to struggle like this. Being creative doesn't get you anything. It doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't get you any money. So I just did the jobs that you're expected to do. And then I got into the Navy, and then I was in IT, and um, I worked in IT those full 4 years. Got out. It was the recession. I found myself moving from place to place because I couldn't get a job, even with my qualifications in the military and all this
really?
experience. Nobody was hiring. So I was encouraged to to look for work that wasn't writing, that wasn't journalism. Eventually, after I ended up homeless, I decided that I wasn't happy doing regular jobs. I knew that there was a passion inside me that couldn't be fulfilled in a regular 9 to 5. So I went back
Hmm.
to school, got my degree, and then my career started. So finally, the heart took over the mind, which was the best thing that could have ever happened in my life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes, because you know, uh, you spoke about growing up, especially about being homeless. Um, and you actually wrote about that in your article in Fast Company. Um, how did that? How did being homeless as well as being a veteran from the Navy did that have any type of influence on your writing? And if so, then how did it influence your writing, especially in the last few years?
Well, drastically, because once I became homeless and I started to understand what that community is like. Um,
Mm,
I couldn't help but, you know, empathize with these people because I was suddenly a member of that community. Being
mm,
a veteran, I always have I always have a soft spot for veterans. So when those two communities come together, you really get the sense of um, a portion of America that America often overlooks. And there's always
yeah.
somebody who likes to demonize veterans and homeless people, and especially homeless veterans. Always somebody who tells you that you're bad because you don't have what I have. Always. It's the saddest thing about this country is that it's always about um, living up to the American dream or picking yourself up by your bootstraps, which is ridiculous.
Mhm.
But that's something that you really, really recognize when you're at the, the lowest depths of what we consider the America, because America means different things for different people, and
Of course.
I really think that you have a different kind of citizenship once you're homeless than you do when you're wealthy. People that treat you like you do not belong here. As a
Mm,
as bald eagle American as you want to be, if you get arrested for being homeless, you will see that people don't really treat you like you're an American. They treat you like a foreigner or worse. So, yeah.
so as far as and I just want to bring this out here as well. This is from Pine Street Inn. It says, "Who are homeless veterans?" It says the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs states the nation's homeless veterans are predominantly male, with roughly 5% being female. The majority of them are single, come from urban areas, and suffer from mental illness, alcohol and/or substance abuse, or co-occurring disorders. About 1/3 of the adult homeless population are veterans. America's homeless veterans have served in World War II, the Korean War, Cold War, Vietnam War, Grenada, Panama, Lebanon, Afghanistan, and Iraq, the military's anti-drug cultivation efforts in South America and elsewhere. Says nearly half of homeless veterans served during the Vietnam era. 2/3 served our country for at least 3 years, and 1/3 were stationed in a war zone. So this really just goes to show how about a third of all homeless people, our our veterans, who have sacrificed, if not life, if not limb, then mind and heart as well. So this is just, I brought this out really to solidify what you just said in concrete terms of what you went through, as well as many other people have went through. And if you have watched my channel for enough time, you know that housing insecurity is something that's really dear to my heart. And as you were saying before, you got into the Navy really because you wanted something better for yourself. And even still, that still didn't equate after leaving. So, as far as your experience is concerned, and you said you have a special place in your heart for veterans, what type of, when it comes to legacy media that you've written for, Newsweek, Washington Post, New York Times, if you could change some of the focus of legacy media, how would you go about that, especially when it comes to their focus on more surface level, or not surface level, but more on the ground topics regarding things like homelessness, housing, healthcare, and etc.?
That's a good question because it is something that I've thought about a lot. I find that so many major media publications are very elitist and they pride themselves on being exclusive. Now, while people are homeless and starving, um, there are small pockets of media outlets that touch on those things. But the majority of the stuff they're talking about is, like you said, surface level, it's fluff pieces because those get clicks and those sell papers. We're always concerned about what the celebrity is doing, how they're affecting the community. There have been so many articles that I have pitched that were about real things that didn't get accepted because so many people don't want to hear about that right now. It's so much easier to ignore an issue
Mm-hmm.
um, that that affects people who are not like you than it is to tackle it and realize that you do have some kind of, you have a leverage over them. You have a foothold and a higher ring of society. If you don't have to think about them, you don't have to worry about them. So it is that portion of America that really feels like I got to stay in this bubble because if I have to take the time to actually think about this and
Mm-hmm.
consider it, I will realize that I'm part of the problem. Um, and that's really unfortunate, because we should be better than that. It's 2023. Uh, we should be better than this, and yet here we are.
But how do you think that's possible to increase? It's not necessarily awareness, because it feels like they are aware. It's that it's kind of like a out of sight, out of mind. So it's like I don't want to hear it. Is there any way to influence that? Because a lot of times when we look at, for instance, legacy media, print media, New York Times, Washington Post, it could be Newsweek, LA Times, Chicago Tribune, it could be any one of these articles, these print media. What type of, do you think there is a route or a way in order to shift the focus so that they are more sympathetic and empathetic to what a lot of us working and poor people go through? Or is there just no hope? What is your thoughts on that? Because I'm a little bit skeptical, but I want to know your thoughts on that.
Well, I do think that there is a way. There has to be change in order. There has to be change from the old way of doing things, the old way of print media. So a lot of people got to die out. I mean, that's just the truth of it. It's the same thing I believe with Congress. The people who have made change for generations are no longer there. That's something that I can see as uh, a way of thinking about it. I'm
Do you,
hopeful that new writers, like the newer generation of writers, Zoomers, they actually take lessons from all of the mistakes that all of the generations before them made. So I don't think that it'll happen in our lifetime, but it can happen in theirs. I think. So yeah, I know it seems like a dark world, but that's kind of I think that's kind of how it is.
do you think that's also indicative of what I like to call visual media, like the CNNs, MSNBCs, Fox Newses, the CBSs and ABCs of the world? Do you think that's also indicative of them as well?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you watch these 24-hour news cycle channels, and it's not so much about the news as it is about my guy is better than your guy, and
Mm,
they'll have these people debate each other, and it's not really a debate. They're just screaming and yelling, and you're wrong because you're too leftist, or you're wrong because you're too much on the right, and nothing gets solved. You just get more biased by listening to these people. That's something
hmm
I really can't stand about what they're doing, because they're influencing millions of people, but they're not solving issues. They're just creating more. That's what I think. The more division happens, the more the media gets involved in our lives. The news media, the part of the news media that wants to divide, that wants to make it clicky, and wants to make something that wants to make something out of nothing, or something that's already big larger through misleading the public. Uh, they don't tell real news. They tell a version of news that'll get people to watch them. So that's my issue.
Do you think that's intentional, or do you think it is unintentional, but it's just a consequence of pursuit of profit?
Well, I think it's both intentional. I think it's both intentional, and I also think that it is pursuit of profit. I think it's both of those, because um, these people know what they're doing. They've they understand how the American mind works.
Mhm.
That's what goes into all of these studies and all of these polls that they go out that they throw out. Uh, the, I hate to say it, but your average American is not a free thinking individual. You know,
Mhm.
people in America are. are free thinking and understand what the media is trying to do. But
Mhm.
but America as a whole, I don't know what the statistics are, but out of 330 million of us, you got to know most of us don't really like to think. We like to be told what to think. I was
Mm.
I was I asked this question. I was doing some speech one time, and I asked this question. Has the government ever sent you a letter in the mail asking you what you want, or did they tell you what you want? Did they tell you these are the issues, and these are the issues you have to vote on? Because I've never gotten a letter in the mail from the government asking me what I wanted, not even once. Um, and it's like, well, okay, why? Why don't they want to know? Um, so, yeah.
Mm. Uh, so in your view, is it frustrating being a journalist basically in the belly of the beast, right? And this beast being the American empire, especially when you're trying to give more attention to on the ground issues like housing, healthcare, and homelessness? Is that one of the most frustrating parts, or is it not as frustrating as somebody like me would think?
Yes, it is very. It's very frustrating trying to get that message across to people in America. So many people in America, and I'm going to bring this up real quick.
Hmm.
This is the book that I'm a part of. This is an anthology. The Going for Broke anthology is the culmination of the work of the founder of EHRP, Barbara Aaron Wright.
Hmm.
She felt that journalists and journalism should be supported um, for people writing about inequality in America, for people writing about the topics that most Americans don't want to think about: homelessness, hunger, um, housing discrimination. So that's what you will find when you read Going for Broke. It
Hmm.
is a collection of essays dealing with those crises
Hmm.
across America, things you don't often hear about, and things that the media doesn't want to talk about. Um,
Hmm.
and so I really appreciate it. Appreciate them for
Yeah,
that.
definitely. Just as a full disclosure, I think if I'm correct, and a piece that was written was also interviewed by me. This was about a year and a half, a couple of years ago. So there's going to be some quotes from myself in the book as well. If you guys have not already, there is in that book too. So just a follow up to your question as well. What what is your prediction for the future of legacy print and visual media? Do you think it's dying, or do you think it's just going through a transition?
I do think it's going through a transition.
Oh.
Something so because I'm writing a piece right now for Wired, um, exploring the metaverse.
Hmm.
I do believe that once that becomes more um, acceptable, once the metaverse becomes more acceptable, um, media will go that route, and um, that is a scary thought, just because there are lots of permissions issues. You know,
Hmm.
when you can go into a virtual metaversal world, um, there is always the possibility that big media will directly feed you information that is untrue. And the permissions uh, statements that you read when you go through user agreements,
Hmm.
those can get a lot more muddy in a situation where these things are sent directly into your into your brain and into the 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 consciousness of a person. So that's kind of scary, you know, the idea that eventually we may not have any say in what we consume as far as the media is concerned. Right now, you can always turn off the TV. You can always, you know, you don't have to read about Will and Jada. Right now, you can do that, but imagine a world where you couldn't. You know what I mean? Imagine a world where
Hey,
you have to.
keep his wife's name out your effing mouth.
Oh Lord have mercy. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Um,
So as far as it's
yeah.
kind of interesting how because one of the things that I was reading, it was actually interesting. My latest reading of Laziness Does Not Exist by Dr. Devon Price was about how we need to, in a sense, disconnect, right, from a lot of these social medias, because it's almost like we're competing to live our lives to show who's enjoying our life the most. Whereas instead of actually just living, we're like, oh, here's my life and here is how much I'm enjoying it. And it's like, that's not really the goal. The goal is to actually live it, not to compete with others to show that I'm living it better than you. And that it feels like it's more of a competition, especially with the notifications, with the onset of trying to get the most likes, and then that almost kind of becomes a bit of a social high, right? And so now it's getting to the point where it's like we getting all of our news filtered through these different mediums. A lot of people, they have been very keen, especially on my channel, especially with an independent media, in regards to the Twitter files. Like people like Matt Taibbi has been writing about as of late, and so because now a lot of our news and information is being curated through these different types of mediums. Now, even when it comes to journalists who want to tell the truth in an unfiltered way, it gets you reach a wall, so to speak. You know what I mean? If you can talk about that just a little bit as well, and kind of expound on what you were talking about in regards to, like, for instance, the metaverse.
Yeah. So something that happened a couple months ago, I believe. Um, uh, the the a lot was going on in Mississippi,
Mhm.
and specifically in Jackson, where the House Bill HB 20 had been rolling around the state Senate, and um, they made different revisions to it, basically just saying that the state would have full control over Jackson, and create a government around the government. So few people of color had power in the state as it was, but
Mhm.
with the bill, it would direct all power to the Republican Party, which, as we know, a lot of black people there. So the issues with crime, issues with water in Jackson. Something I learned that they've had bad water in Jackson for over 20 years. Um, I thought, you know, Ferguson was bad.
Mhm.
So I tried to write about that. I interviewed people, and I tried to get that published and to the forefront. But when talking to one of the one of the interviewees, his name um, escapes me at the moment, but he's a professor at at a law college down there. He said,
Mm,
he said, you know, the people in the South don't want you to talk about what's going on in the South. They'll
mm,
allow it if it's local. They'll allow it. They're fine with that. But as soon as you talk nationally, as soon as liberal media gets involved, that's when they get scared, and that's when they start silencing people. That's when they kill projects. And that was something I found as well when I was interviewing a lot of people. Um, they didn't want their names mentioned. They didn't want to talk about it exactly. They would talk around the issues because people are afraid. You know, the media is very powerful, but especially in places where they want to keep things the old ways. That's something I really came face to face with doing that piece was, you know, there is that brick wall, like you said, that filtering. There are the, you know, talking about progressive issues, talking about rights, talking
mhm,
about um, what it's like for the black people. It's
mhm,
a real struggle to get a lot of that stuff um, um, to break that smoke screen, to break through that layer of topics they're willing to let happen. So,
mhm.
uh,
What percentage of that do you think is just really class warfare from the perspective of, dare I say, the elites? I really don't like to use that word, but more of the corporate hierarchy, people in the upper echelons of the hierarchy. How much do you think that is class warfare?
well, um, I I would say most because
Hmm.
of how stratified our society is. You
Hmm.
know, it's always. I think that you always have to think about where you sit in
Hmm.
um, in America if you don't have money, or if you were middle class, like, which is unfortunately disappearing.
Hmm.
I think that the class warfare issue becomes most predominant now. Every year that we spend trillions, 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 and trillions more on things to help the rich, um, the
Hmm.
the the media changes a little bit. You know,
Hmm.
every time it becomes less about the wealthy and more about the people,
Hmm.
media changes. You know, it reacts a certain way
Hmm.
because, guess who owns the media, right? The rich people. Um, and so it's really hard. It's really difficult to put a
Yeah.
number on it because
Hmm.
I always see something when it is time to talk about issues like class or veterans or homelessness. Somebody always says, "Oh, but you know what? We really got to worry about is those Mexicans. We got to worry about the Russians and the Ukrainians." It's always this thing where they kind of want to talk about the issue, but when you really want to talk about it, they got to go away and draw off some other tangent. Um,
Yeah.
and and then those issues become louder than the stuff that we're dealing with. So, yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, one thing I noticed in this was actually brought out in Noam Chomsky's Manufacturing Consent, and it was just made pretty abundant, is that a lot of times one of the issues regarding this is that it's not necessarily a concerted effort. Well, maybe in some ways, but it's not necessarily a concerted effort to shield us from talking about these issues, but really it's in a sense per- it's in a sense talking about it from a benefit of a particular class. So it's not saying, oh, just don't talk about the poor class, but it's almost as if it's saying, we don't need to talk about them. We just need to talk about our class and how our class benefits, because we got here from our hard work. And if anybody who is lesser than us, they're only there because there's something wrong with their character. When in reality, I don't think that some of them, I think some of them are conditioned to not see it as a systemic issue. It's always an individualistic issue, basically saying that it is your fault you're in the position that you are, instead of seeing it as, I just got lucky. And one of the reasons why I say it like this is because I want to bring attention to your article that you wrote. And this is out of Fast Company, and you actually wrote about how you got into writing. And one of the things that I wanted to bring attention to was this paragraph. And you say, I know that I wouldn't have made it in this industry without Sue's guidance and advocacy. In this industry, the odds remain stacked against people like me. And you were talking about how you were homeless in the beginning. It says talent doesn't guarantee success, but Sue helped me to access the industry gatekeepers and bring my story to the world. And this is what makes her so special. She understands the struggle and wants to help everyone with a story. Unfortunately, from what I've observed, is that there's a lot of people who are within the industry that do not feel or act in the same way that she has. And so it's because of that that there's more Alex Millers that have yet to be discovered that will write about class struggle, that will write about the struggles of being Black in this nation, or insert any type of marginalized people, because if it comes from a class perspective, then that threatens the class of a lot of people who are the gatekeepers within these industries. And if you disagree or agree, you feel free to expound upon that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And uh, late last year, I believe, I was interviewed by the Columbia Review,
Okay.
and there was an article about exactly that. You know, there were so many high level publications that simply turn away stories because of the prestige. They feel that they have to be the most dominant leader in award-winning journalism or whatever, and they can't take certain pieces because either they feel that the piece isn't good enough because it's talking about a specific type of person that they don't want to actually talk about, or it doesn't measure up to that quality, or whatever. And it's something that's so prevalent, um, that it does hurt the industry itself when you can't talk about the struggles of people in America.
Hmm.
The people who read your articles, you can't talk about the struggles of a lot of those people. You can only talk about um, other people's struggles who are already spoken about. And I'll give you an example. Um, there aren't enough articles written about um, about life on the reservation. You know, there aren't a lot of articles written about um, trans sex workers. There aren't a whole lot of articles written about how the UN considers the police force almost an almost a terrorist organization. That there
Hmm.
aren't a lot of articles written about these things
Hmm.
when
Yeah.
there should be more. People should know about these things. People should
Hmm.
know. that that rights are being abused across the country, and somebody, some people can actually do things to change that. Um,
Mm.
so you know, it's something I find very frustrating about this industry, and it's something that I um, I tell a lot of people when I do talks. I tell them, listen, you're going to fail so much in this industry
Mhm.
because of that fact. You want to write about something that's really important, that's meaningful, that can help people, and so many people won't want you to do that.
Mm.
And um, and that's unfortunate. You I think you should be a good writer because we got enough bad ones. Okay,
Yeah.
but understand that a lot of times they will pick the bad writer over the good one because that guy's writing about something that you think or isn't worthy
Yeah.
of actual attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? That really just it's really more of a confirmation of everything you just said, what I've always felt, and a lot of what my audience has always felt as well. And we're going into a period where, like, for instance, any Joe off the street like myself can actually write articles, right? I didn't go to journalism school, and I'm learning as I go. And for instance, I've written a couple of articles on Substack. You have people who are writing articles on Medium, things like that, which I encourage because it means that you're putting your ideas out there without having to go through the filter of more of a PMC type of lens, and so because of that, I think that there's some bright spots on the horizon. At the same time, this really just confirms how it is important for people like yourself, as well as more people who are minded on what the forgotten person is going through. And by forgotten person, I mean people who are housing insecure, food insecure, experiencing housing and homelessness. I'm talking about the trans person that may, not have their voice heard. I'm talking about the poor white guy in Appalachia that may be experiencing some type of disability that people just do not want to hear about. We're talking about many different types of people who are shut out uh, informationally. So, and as we all know, knowledge is power, but that information is not being put out there. And I think it's deeply important that we continuously try to uplift these people. Um, I found it necessary to have you on because you do talk about these things. And I think more of us need to speak out, especially regarding issues like this. So, first of all, I am a firm believer in giving people their flowers before they die. So, I want to give you your flowers. And thank you for being one of those
Again,
voices as well.
thank you so much.
Hmm.
This has been great. Thank you so much for this. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
so,
Uh, and so, as far as I just want have one more question. As far as getting these thoughts out here into these different mediums, what are your words of encouragement to the viewers who may be watching right now who are thinking about getting into either writing, they may end up wanting to doing what I do, or any other type of, even into the arts, right? Of it could be poetry, music, whatever it could be. What type of encouragement do you have for them, or maybe even some advice if they want to get into the industry?
yeah, I um, I very much encourage people to get into the arts, you know, because it's necessary. It is necessary. It's part of our civilization. We have to appreciate these things that basically lay the groundwork and have laid the groundwork for how we evolve as people. And that means the arts. That even now it means podcasting, because we didn't always have that. It means writing, singing, acting, all of that. I I I do encourage people to get into the arts, promote them, help your friends, promote your friends.
Mhm.
Because the sad truth of it is, so many people who can't do this are out there to tell you that you shouldn't do this.
Mhm.
Even your friends maybe will sometimes tell you, yeah, that's fun. That's a fun little whatever. Um, but because our history um, as people really needs the arts. It needs the arts. Um, it needs encouragement. It needs encouraging of the arts,
Mhm.
because it's so important and pivotal to our society.
Yeah.
It's important and pivotal that people go out and take chances. You know,
Mhm.
take chances. Go out there. Put yourself out there.
Mhm.
Understand also that a lot of times it's not going to work for you. Maybe it's just not what you do. Maybe this isn't
Mhm.
your purpose. But
Mhm.
but give yourself some time. Uh,
Mhm.
uh, if it doesn't work out after a certain amount of time, don't keep doing it, man. Because I've heard a lot of people say, "Well, it only takes a certain amount of time." I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't think that that is good advice. I think that if you do something that long and you want to encourage people to also do it, but it hasn't worked out, you may be doing the wrong thing. Maybe, maybe you end up and you're 70, 80 years old and you can't help anyone because you can't help yourself, and you can't get the attention necessary to to bring to bring attention to the cause that you have been trying. Maybe it just wasn't for you. Maybe it just wasn't right. Um, and that's okay. You know, that's okay. Just find what is for you. Don't try something that won't be for you. Don't be a square trying to fit in a circular peg. You know, I just my heart goes out to people who do that and nothing comes of it, and they just go about their lives, and that's what it is. That's their legacy. It breaks my heart, and I cannot, in good conscience, encourage people to do that. Um, yeah.
Okay. So as far as that's concerned, I think that when it comes to somebody uh, living their passion, and maybe I understood a little bit wrong, but when it comes to people living their passion, it really doesn't matter if it. Let me ask you this: what does it mean what do you mean by the phrase "working out"? Are you referring to monetarily or notoriety?
Um, well, I mean, those things are very important. Those things are really important. But I think also the fulfillment is an important part. I see a lot of people who are doing something that hasn't worked, and they're not happy. They're doing it because they
I
feel
get
that
you,
this
man.
is what I'm supposed to be doing, and
Okay.
nothing is moving forward. And it's the same, and they hate work, and they go and do it, but it's, you know what I mean? I you know, that to me is the greatest
Mhm.
tragedy. You know, when you
I
do
got you.
something and it no longer gives you that kind of enjoyment, you're just doing it. Yeah, yeah,
Understood. Okay. I just wanted to clarify because,
yeah,
you're like, well, you actually like writing, even if you don't get a lot of, looks on it, you still keep doing it. Yeah. But that, I was, my brain
yeah,
was just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah. Yeah, I should have made that clear. I should have made that clear. Yeah,
it's okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, if you can tell everybody where can they find you and where can they read your articles?
Right. Um, well, that's going to be a little difficult because everybody's named Alex Miller. So you can follow me on Twitter. I post my work often on Twitter at One Heart One City. It's ONE Heart number one city, and
I
you
got
can see
you.
my stuff there, and uh, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's me.
And I will put the link also in the chat for everybody so that
Thank you.
they can give a look and take a look at what you've written. I actually especially like the article that you wrote about um, how your life basically started and your relationship with your stepfather and how that blossomed. I think that was a beautiful story, and I appreciate that. And it just goes to show how blended families can also, or the families that you choose as well, can also be extremely powerful. That could be friends, that could be chosen loved ones, things like that. I also think that that is deeply important. So I just want to thank you for that article too. That really touched me. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really
Mhm.
appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So thank you so much, Alex. And I will can't wait to have you back on, and we'll talk more, especially in regards to a lot of the news that's been happening. I'd like to get your thoughts on, the news events that happens as well.
Very cool. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right.
I very much enjoyed this and appreciate that so much.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Alex.
Mhm. Okay.
Bye bye. All right. So that was a great conversation. As far as journalists and writers, I encourage everybody, especially support independent media. There's a lot of journalists out there that we may end up, writing for different outlets, but at the same time, we're not necessarily tied to those outlets. We may submit, articles and things like that. So maybe almost like a freelance type of work, but please be sure to support uh, journalists and writers, especially talking about the hard stuff that's on the ground. A lot of us, we just do not get these types of articles as much, especially in legacy media. Legacy media, they may want to talk about, the dichotomy between the Democrats versus the Republicans versus, and they'll talk about it from the same class perspective, but they won't talk about it from the on the ground perspective regarding people like you or I, right? And so I think that's really important. So just a big thanks to Alex for coming in and giving us that on the ground perspective, especially from the perspective of a journalist. So thank you so very much. If you guys have not already, please make sure to give me a like because I am not on the good side of the algorithm as we are speaking right now. I got a couple things to talk about there in a second, but if you guys have not already, do that as well. Also, just as an aside, if you guys have not, thank you to all the patrons on Patreon as well as on Coffee. Without you guys, I would not be able to do this type of work. And I just really want to give a big appreciation to all of you. And do I have it up? Uh-oh, I don't have it up. Hang on. Let me put this up. Make sure I got it up so that you guys can see it. All right. So also for anybody who's a patron on Patreon, you guys can also become a patron as well. Here are the tiers. We have JB members. We also have Solidarity, Comrades, Jaybefaunters, Super Jaybefaunters, Super Duper Jaybefaunters, and Mega Jaybefaunters. Thank you so very much to all of you that have become patrons on Patreon. Without you guys, I would not be able to do this job. And thank you to new patron Benjamin Ballack. Thank you so very much for becoming a new patron as well. Clap it up for Benjamin. Now, just to let you guys know, I'm going to show y'all. Okay, before I continue, some things happened over the last week. JB, what happened? So remember last week when I did a stream talking about what happened in Palestine in regards to Israel? Yeah, so if you guys noticed, that video isn't up anymore. It got taken down, not by me. Not by me. So, in regards to that, also a warning was given to me on the platform because I was showing what was really happening on the ground. Just to let anybody know, I do not condone violence. I do not condone it, and I do not tolerate it. I will speak up for self-defense, but I do not condone violence. This is one of the reasons why I was showing the atrocities that was being committed by the state of Israel and the violence that they were doing against Palestinians. And I was condemning the violence that was being done against the people of Palestine. With that being said, it was taken down because they were under the impression that I was encouraging. Instead, what I was really doing was I was condemning the violence. So just to let you guys know, in that regard, I have been temporarily demonetized. So if you guys notice, you guys will not see that I have any type of monetization. You guys cannot send me any super chats. If you are a member for the channel, you notice that your memberships are not showing up. It is because I have been temporarily demonetized. Hopefully it will come back in a few months, but as of right now, it has not. So if you guys would like to, support the channel, send anything in place of a super chat, you guys can go to Patreon, or you guys go to my PayPal. Those are all linked in my description. So if you guys would like to, you guys can go there. But yes, for right now, this channel is demonetized. If you guys would also like to, you guys can also get merch from my merch store. Yes, I also have a merch store, and that merch store is on Bonfire. You guys can just look up Jaybefaunt as well. If you guys would like to, I can also put the link to the merch store in as well so that you guys can have that. But that's what I'm going through as of this moment right now. It is kind of tough because I'm basically helping take care of my mother, and she's elderly. And the money that I would typically get from YouTube, I'm not getting that now. So to offset that, if you guys can assist with that at all, then great. Reality Revolution says, do you have Cash App? Yes, I do. I'll put my Cash App in there. All right. So if you guys would like to, then you guys can go to Cash App. It is $ James Fauntleroy. If you guys would like to send it through there as well, that also definitely helps. But just to let you guys know, that is what happened on my channel. So Yes, it is. It sucks because did I lie? No. Did I say anything inaccurate? No. But did I show things that were sensitive? Yes, I did. As far as the things that I showed things that were happening, especially to Palestinian children, due to Israeli forces that were happening. And I figured that I would, at the very least, be I would get a age restriction for that particular stream. At the most, I thought was going to happen was that particular stream was going to be demonetized and not suitable for any type of ad revenue. That's the most of what I thought was going to happen. I did not think I was going to get a channel content warning and a temporary demonetization. I did not think that was going to happen, but it did. So, unfortunately, from now on, I had to be very careful about what I show from the region. And just to say once again, I do not condone violence, especially state violence. I do feel that it is important that people make sure to go by as many peaceful means as possible, but also protect yourself. So I will say that much, and that's the best I can do. So I just want to thank everybody for whatever contributions whatsoever, even if you are just words of encouragement. That goes a long way too to help me continue to keep doing this work. I want to continue to keep doing this work. I do not want to end my channel because I actually really do like what I do. So I just had to put that out there and just, yeah. So for anybody that's been curious, so yeah. Let me just also put this in here as well. Hang on, let me see. I'm gonna make sure I get this in as well. Let me see. Oh, here we go. I remember. Let me see. All right, so I'll put this in the chat as well, just in case. And then I will get to my next stories in a second. All right. So and then the link to my Patreon is at the top of the chat. Okay. So as far as that is concerned, let me get to the chat just to talk. All right. So saying hello to all the people who are in the chat. We have Miguel coming in saying, peace. Good to see you, Miguel. And yes, YouTube did not restore the demonetization. And in fact, I placed I did a appeal to the decision. The appeal was denied. So that's how it goes. CBC Voter, good to see you also in the chat as well. The Quantum Alchemist says, hi. Good to see you, Quantum Alchemist. Serena Sawyer is in the chat saying, greetings, comrades. The NFL owes Kaepernick an apology. I think so. Apparently, kneeling is okay as long as it's for Israel, but not against police brutality. They'll kneel for those training the cops instead. Ooh. Interesting how that goes, right? Unfortunately, yes, the IDF does train the cops here in the United States. And as from what I have learned as well over the weekend, Israel trains the OPD, the Orlando Police Department here. And another fact that I just found out this, and if you guys didn't watch the stream that I did on Saturday when I was at the All Out for Palestine rally, Chief John Mina, the chief of the Orlando Police Department, is half Palestinian. And yet, him and his colleagues in the Orlando Police Department were trained by the IDF. So that doesn't tell you what you need to know. Yeah. Terry Connolly says, greetings, comrades. Free Palestine. Yes, thank you so very much for coming in, Terry Connolly. Reality Revolution says, anyone gets cited for criticizing Israel at Palestine March? Here in Orlando, not that I know of. I didn't see it. There was a ton of police out there, though. All OPD was out there in full force, but there was nothing that has happened in regards to anybody being harassed or anybody being targeted by police, thankfully. But in other cities, doesn't look too good. Bryce coming in saying, morning, JB. Morning, Alex Miller. Morning, everyone. Good to see you, Bryce. Outlaw All Billionaire says, money for apartheid Israel last year, 38 billion taxpayer dollars. Money for homeless Americans, none. Yeah, it doesn't go that way. When it comes to giving money to the poor, they say nothing for you. Outlaw Billionaires continues, as fastest growing homeless population, the elderly. And in fact, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I actually talked about that, how the growing elderly population among boomers is skyrocketing now. And in fact, I think back then it was like 10% of elderly. Now I think it's like 30% elderly population that is that's really homeless. So it's just horrible what's going on now. But Chico Rone, hello, good to see you as well. We also have Killier Grigors coming in saying, good to see you still on YouTube. It's just wrong how you were demonetized. Yeah, unfortunately, but I will still keep speaking out as much as I possibly can. Thank you so very much, Killier Grigors. Unemployed Scholar says, Native reservations are concentration camps without running water, heat, or electricity. Yes, including Gaza. Gaza right now is an open air concentration camp. Now, why don't I say open air prison like a lot of other people do? I say it because a prison denotes that you may have done something wrong that you are put in prison. The people in Gaza have done nothing wrong. Therefore, it is not a prison. It is an open air concentration camp, because they're being kept there, and now their food, electricity, fuel, and water have been cut off by Israel. That's what it is. So yeah, thank you so very much. Valdez BTW says, hey, what's up? Hello, good to see you from the Twitch side as well. Roger Meadows, thank you so much. He says, there's always Rockfin. It's a cooperative after all. Yes. And if you guys would like to see that stream that was taken down by YouTube, it is also available on Rockfin as well as on Rumble. It is still up there. So if you guys would like to see it in all its glory, it's still there as well. So thank you so very much to Roger Meadows, because cooperatives, Rock and Rockfin is a cooperative. So thank you so very much. I'm glad I'm on there too. All right, let's continue in here. Whatever man says cop's gonna cop. Yes. All right. Miguel says, Do Dissidents said that they've stopped live streaming on Rockfin, will continue to upload videos there. Oh, I didn't know that. I still live stream on Rockfin. In fact, I'm live streaming on Rockfin now. Colin says, Israel also trains NYPD and my local Albany Police Department. New York white supremacist governor endorses Israeli apartheid and genocide of Palestinians, is visiting Israel this week. Yikes. Natalie Williams says, too bad. I wish Rockfin's chat worked better on my phone. I really like the fact that they're a worker co-op. Yeah, I think Rockfin needs to improve on their app. They're great in other regards, but their app just they gotta work on that a little bit better. Gotta do better in the app, guys. But yeah, hopefully Rockfin will grow soon as well. I like to see them grow. Good to see you, Sula Moon. Nice to have you. Mastermind Hours coming in saying, hey, hello, everybody, listening, but using my hands to trim. All right. Good to see you. All right. We have Norman Kina coming in. All right. Good to see you as well. Lou's coming in saying, I think that's an important parallel to make, particularly after the president creating SCOTUS ruling denying the Navajo Nation water rights. Oh, yeah, I don't think that our Supreme Court actually stands with anyone who is marginalized. Either they say they do, but it's only in surface level. I don't think they actually really do. Not in my opinion. All right, we have Wadi coming in. Good to see you, Wadi. Cobra Commander coming in saying, damn, JB, you looking sharp today? Oh, somebody get Cobra Commander some Neosporin. Yes, Roger Meadow says Rockman has an app. Yes. Thank you so very much for that. And yes, forehead kisses. Early forehead kisses to you too. All right. So, what are we talking about today? Let's get into it. So, what did we talk about earlier today? So, we have journalism in the empire, and we have just recently spoken with Alex Miller. So, thank you so very much for that. And the next item that we will be discussing as well, because I forgot to upload it and I had to do that in real time. Why? Because JB didn't pay attention to what he was doing. But that's okay, because I got the overlay and it will be uploaded soon. Do. All right. And we'll also be talking about strike equals fired. What did this pile of melted ice cream say to strikers? We're going to get into that. And also, we're going to be talking about a taste of their own medicine. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. When we talk about CVS Pharmacy, I cannot wait to get into it because we're going to be talking about striking, baby. All right, let's get into it. So, what are we talking about? Strike equals fired. Ooh, if you're striked, you're fired. You're fired. Ford, one of the most well-known automakers in the United States, if not the world. It's been around for over 100 years. But the great-grandson of Henry Ford is now threatening auto workers. If they continue to strike, then they will face job cuts and layoffs. How do we know? Well, he said it in his speech. Let's give it a watch. Let's share the screen real quick and see what Billy Ford had to say. Ooh, say it ain't so. Say it ain't so, boo. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's start here.
Well, thank you, Corey, and good morning, everybody. And thank you so much for joining me today at the Rouge. I wanted to meet here today because at 105 years old, the Rouge tells the story of Ford, the UAW, and America itself like rings on a tree. It's the living history of how we have endured every crisis the world has thrown at us and come out stronger together. This is where we build so many of our iconic models through the years. And when called upon by our country, helped democracy prevail in 2 world wars by building boats, tank parts, and jet engines. And when an explosion here took the lives of several of our employees, we got through those hard months as a family.
Okay, let's talk about that explosion. See, here's why I love websites that bring out the truth, especially about explosions that happen. Let me see. Let me see if I can I? Let me see. Because it's really interesting. So he talks about this explosion, and let me share this with you guys. This is out of World Socialist website. Bill Ford is full of shit. I'm gonna show y'all why. Oh, we came together. Says as an example of this collusion, Ford cited the deaths of 6 Ford workers in the February 1st, 1999 explosion at the Rouge power plant, declaring that we all came together as a family. The UAW bureaucracy and management certainly came together, with then UAW Vice President Ronald Gettelfinger rush to the company's defense, saying the powerhouse was a safe facility. In fact, UAW Local 600 bureaucracy repeatedly ignored the grievances filed by power plant workers, including the workers killed in the blast, who warned about the imminent dangers of an explosion due to years of cost cutting and lack of maintenance. So, let me ask you something. Would that have happened if they didn't do their capitalism thing by cutting costs and cutting back maintenance? So whose fault was it that those employees died in that explosion? Billy? William? What? Whose fault is it? Oh, we came together as a family. Yeah, because it didn't kill the 6 workers. That's what happened. But he's not going to tell you that, because he wanted to cut costs. Right? Mr. 2 billion, that's how much he's worth, said that. Here's more BS.
When the pandemic upended our lives, factories like this one allowed us to turn on a dime to make life-saving PPE for frontline workers. A couple of decades ago, some executives wanted to shut down the Rouge. They thought it was just a rusting relic of another era. And I said no. Instead, we turned it into the most environmentally advanced plant in the industry.
All right, so I'm going to call BS on this, because here's my thing. The auto industry is one of the key factors as to why our public transportation in this country is trash. Remember when we used to have a lot of streetcars back in the day? Well, who bought them all and then put them out of commission? Was it not the auto industry? Yes, they did that. Why did they do that? Because they wanted to put more cars out there on the road. It was never because we just think that it's the most environmentally friendly or most economical way to travel. No, they wanted more money. So they nearly killed an industry, a service, for the sake of building more cars, to build more automobiles. Never mind the fact that it actually is contributing partially to our climate change that we see in the nation, it makes it more difficult for those of us who are poor and working poor to get to where we need to go. Because if our public transportation is trash, then how do we get adequately to the places where we need to go for work, school, taking care of ourselves, what have you? We just can't. On top of that, it also pushes the fight for energy abroad when it comes to our foreign wars, because we have to go abroad to get oil in other oil-rich countries. This also exacerbates the interest in keeping Israel as a settler colonial state in the Middle East, because you essentially need a base of operations in order to keep tabs on oil-rich countries in the region, like Syria and Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan. Well, Afghanistan's more of a, it's not necessarily oil-rich, but is definitely opium-rich. But you have to keep tabs on these oil-rich countries. So you kind of, in a sense, need a babysitter, right? To keep tabs on them. That's what Israel's for. So, because we have to have these oil-rich nations, because of our auto industry, because of our military-industrial complex, well, yeah, that's why we have it. Because of auto companies like Ford and GM and all the rest. And so when they say, oh, well, we have this factory that's very environmentally conscious, that's peanuts, right? It's peanuts, because that factory, the good that it does, as far as being, as far as it is, as far as it's, when it comes to its ability to curb it's just bullshit. It's not curbing any type of climate change whatsoever. All it does is it's just like a face, like, oh, we're doing this good thing. Don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining. That's basically what it is. Sorry. I tried to find the best way to come up with the explanation, but that's the best way I can come up with.
And as Corey said, today it assembles America's favorite vehicle, the F-150, and also the F-150 Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
The Rouge is the crown jewel of a company that still believes that building in America matters. Automobile plants like the Rouge have created countless well-paying manufacturing jobs and a thriving.
If it's countless well-paying manufacturing jobs, then why are the United Auto Workers going on strike? Answer me that, William, please. Why are they going on strike if it is well-paying manufacturing jobs? That's like a parent that abuses their child and they go, well, my child respects me. Meanwhile, your child is suffering and they have to get, see a psychiatrist just to work through their trauma that you gave them. And you're saying, oh yeah, but my child respects me. Yeah, because they're scared of you. It's not because they actually see you as a beneficial parent, because they're scared of your ass. And so they're only doing it as a means to self-preservation. And so then you're saying, well, we actually, have some of the best pay, for our workers, when in reality, it's like, yeah, no, they're going on strike. This guy.
Thriving middle class. And they have become the foundation of our communities and the Midwest cities that we know and love. I want to be clear on something else too. A strong manufacturing base is critical to our national security.
You don't believe that. Oh gosh, if you believed it, then you would have believed it way back in the 90s when Bill Clinton decided to sign NAFTA into law and then they shipped the jobs overseas. If you feel that way, bring all them jobs back from overseas. Bring them back. But you don't believe that, do you, William? Oh, William. I was born at night, but not last night, boo. Come on now. Do you actually believe that I believe when you say that it's to our national security? Why does this guy sound like a politician? He might as well, like, remember Bob Dole? I'm Bob Dole. Remember what he always carried a pen in his hand? He might as well have a pen in his hand and, he might as well be doing that, a stump speech. That's what it sounds like. This guy is, looks like melted ice cream. I'm telling you, I'm sorry. He does.
Building things in America matters now more than ever, especially in these uncertain times. And we can't take that for granted. In my lifetime, I've watched countries lose their auto industry, and then virtually all industries after that.
Why, William? Please, for the class, tell us why. Come on. Could it be programs like the IMF and World Bank and making it so that these countries really are kept in perpetual debt their entirety so that these banks can skim money off these countries time and time again? And then they input austerity so that their people are kept poor. And yes, they work in the cobalt mines, they'll work in the platinum mines, they'll work in the gold mines, they'll work in the lithium mines, and they'll work hard all day and all night. But yet, when it comes down to it, they never just seem to get themselves out of it. All those people, if only they lifted themselves up more by their bootstraps, right? They just don't have that grit and determination that we as Americans have. Even though we're the ones that put them there. Even though it's nations like the G7 nations, like France and Germany and Italy and the United Kingdom, that put them there. But no, they just don't have it within them like we do. Right? America.
Countries that once had vibrant industrial bases no longer make anything. They've become dependent on others for critical products, aspects of their supply chain,
like America,
and even national defense.
And
today, as the UAW strike against Ford continues, we are at a crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
Choosing the right path isn't just about Ford's future and our ability to compete. This is about the future of the American automobile industry.
Damn right.
The UAW leaders have called us the enemy in these negotiations.
They're right. You are the enemy in these negotiations. Where's the lie, William? Where's the lie?
But I will never consider our employees as enemies. This should not be Ford versus the UAW. It should be Ford and the UAW versus Toyota, Honda, Tesla, and all the Chinese companies that want to enter our home market.
Oh, there it is. So it's not workers of the world unite. It's join us with the corporation against all the other corporations so that we can fight against the evil Chinese. That's what it is. Oh, no, it's about the evil Chinese. It's about Toyota and Honda, right? It's about going against the yellow peril in the East, right? That's what it's about. And it comes out. Because if he was really about the workers, first of all, Ford would be a worker-owned, worker-operated corporation. First of all right, let's put that out there. Second of all, if I was up there talking, I would have said workers of the world unite. Solidarity between Ford, GM, Toyota, Tesla, Honda workers, and auto workers in China. Solidarity between all y'all. Because here's the thing. Ultimately, it is about William's interests versus your interests. That's what it's about. And the thing is that he doesn't want you to think that. He doesn't want you to know that, because he wants you to think that him getting his $17 million a year, that's also in your interest. When in reality, it's not. Because if it was, you wouldn't need to be on strike right now. But you are on strike right now because his interests are not aligned with your interests. But he doesn't want you to know that. He doesn't want you to think that. He's trying to put this, oh, we're all in this together. Yes. But in reality, no, it's not. You as a worker have nothing in common with this pile of ice cream. You have none. Why? Because Yogurt Face over here does not have the same class interest as you. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be insulting. I shouldn't. But here's the thing. I don't like capitalists. I don't. Why? Because they exploit. I don't like exploiters. That's why you came here. That's why you clicked on this channel. That's why you're watching me right now, because you don't like them either. Oh, gosh. Can I even take any more of this? I don't know. Let me just do just a little bit more. I don't even know. I'm almost halfway through this damn speech.
Toyota, Honda, Tesla, and the others are loving this strike because they know the longer it goes on, the better it is for them. They will win, and all of us will lose.
No, Billy. No, William. Your shareholders will lose. You will lose. But the thing is, you won't even lose that much. You guys are still going to be rich. They're just asking for a bigger piece of the pie. What? Hang on. Why is it asking for a bigger piece of the pie is such a bad thing when it comes to workers? I mean, aren't they the ones who actually put you in the spot that you're in right now financially? Why is that so wrong? William, this guy just, something ain't right.
This is why Ford's ability to invest in the future isn't just a talking point. It's the absolute lifeblood of our company. And if we lose it, we will lose to the competition. America loses. Many jobs will be lost. So will future investments. We'll lose factories like the one we're in here today. and communities will suffer greatly.
Do you hear what this guy is saying? Yo, wake up. He's basically saying, if you guys continue to strike, we're going to lose this company. We're gonna have to lay some people off. We're gonna have to fire some people if you guys continue to strike, because if we lose out on money, then you guys aren't gonna fare too well if you guys keep striking for actual living wages and decent working conditions and surface level benefits, even though we're making billions of dollars in record profits. That's what he's saying.
Now, I haven't spoken publicly since these negotiations began, but I believe I have a unique perspective to share.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the longest serving leader in our industry.
So
I've been part of every negotiation since 1982.
Too bad.
And I've worked with every UAW leader, from Doug Frazier to Ron Gittlefinger and Bob King.
Mm-hmm.
I've also been the most pro-union leader in our industry.
Then why are they striking, William? Hang on. Ask that question again. Then why? Why are they striking? Pray tell. If you're so pro-union, then that means no strike should really be happening under you. This is just like with Joe Biden. I'm the most pro-union president. You can take that to the bank. If that's the case, then why did you shut down the Railroad Workers Union? Why did you shut them down? Oh, it's bluster. It's BS. Jeez Louise.
On my watch, Ford is the only automaker to have added UAW jobs over the last 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
We employ more UAW workers than any other automaker. We assemble more vehicles here in the US than anyone else, including 100% of our F-Series trucks. Many of our competitors moved.
He didn't say all the cars, though.
Jobs to Mexico as we added jobs here in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Ford is the strongest partner the UAW has ever known. These are choices we made, and it's added cost to our business in an industry that is extraordinarily competitive. But it aligns with my personal values and the values of our company and our history. We believe in building in America.
No, you don't.
Every set of negotiations has been challenging, but at the end of the day, we've always recognized that we're all Ford, and we will succeed or fail together. We know how vital the UAW is to the success of our company, and we want our employees to do well. We didn't wait for the current contract talks to create thousands of jobs or invest billions of dollars beyond what was required by the letter of a deal. And we agree that our UAW colleagues deserve even more.
If that's the case, then why are they on strike? You see, the workers will tell you everything you need to know about the company, especially if they're in a union. If they're going on strike, then that means that they do not like the way the company is being ran, and so they have no choice but to do what is necessary. A strike is the nuclear option. Always remember this. Whenever workers go on strike, that is the nuclear option. Because if the negotiations fell through, that's basically what a strike is. It means the negotiations fell through. They couldn't come to an agreement. And 9 times out of 10, it's the corporation that's at fault because they have the money, they have the resources to give the workers what they want. They just don't want to do it because they're greedy. That's basically what it is.
And that's why we've offered a record contract, which
record contract. Look, I can say, well, I have $100 and I can give you $100 and say, well, we raised your contract by 10%. That is huge. When in reality, it's only $10. Record contract. Like, come on, dude. And here's the crazy part. We're looking for 1,000.
Which would make our UAW employees among the best paid manufacturing workers in the world.
Best paid. Look, if I make $1 more above the industry standard, you can literally say I'm the best paid in as far as industry standards are concerned. If I just make $1 an hour more, that doesn't tell me jack squat.
Despite this, the UAW leaders decided to escalate and strike our Kentucky truck plant last week.
Dude, do you hear that? This dude is... Oh, gosh. I'm done with him. So, basically, that's what it is, right? So let me share this article, which... that actually goes into this in a more detailed, and it really breaks it down, this article. So it says, Bill Ford threatens auto workers with layoffs and plant closures if strike expands. So he is the great-grandson of founder Henry Ford. William Clay Ford Jr., that's his name, earned $17.3 million in 2022 and has an estimated net worth of over $2 billion with a B dollars. Bill Ford took the unusual step of commenting publicly on the contract negotiations amid demands by auto workers for an all-out strike against the Ford and other auto companies. He is well aware and clearly concerned of the rank-and-file opposition to UAW President Shawn Fain's bogus stand-up strike, which has kept more than 3/4 of the 146,000 UAW members at Ford, GM, and Stellantis on the job and producing profits a month after the expiration of the contracts. So, says, growing impatient with the delays, Ford chair decides to make his threats directly to rank and file workers. He says, as the UAW strike against Ford continues, we're at a crossroads. Choosing the right path isn't just about Ford's future and our ability to compete. It's about the future of American automobile industry. So basically, yes. But what are the demands? The demands include demands for wage increases that keep pace with inflation, the restoration of a cost of living adjustment and pensions, and an end to the hated tiered wages system for the profits of the big three automakers. And here's the point. If workers did not surrender, Ford warned the company would lose plants like the Rouge complex and carry out massive layoffs. Ford's ability to invest in the future is the absolute lifeblood of the company. If we lose it, many jobs will be lost. So will future investments. So will factories like the one that we are in today, and communities will suffer greatly. So basically, it's almost like a mafia boss saying, it'd be a shame if we carried out. It'd be a shame if we carried out on this strike, because I wouldn't want you guys to lose your jobs, your livelihood, and then your town will go bankrupt. You see? So that's what it is. And why do we call them the big three? Well, the big three is because really it's really a monopolization, because they all have an agreement with each other. It's not because, oh, we're just the ones that are left standing. No, because they absorbed all the rest of the companies, and then they did layoffs and cuts so they can become bigger. So that's how capitalism works. It inflate, these corporations inflate themselves. But let's go to a couple of factoids regarding the Ford Motor Company. So let's go to gross profit. How much did Ford make? Right? So Ford Motor gross profit. I'm not disabling my ad blocker for nobody. Y'all can get bent. Ford Motor gross profit from 2010 to 2023. So take a look. So gross profit for 2020 was $14.392 billion, but that was a 32.14% decline, right? Okay, because we all know what happened in 2020, right? So in 2021, it increased to 21.69 billion. So that means it increased by over 50%. So it was a big rebound. So you dropped 32%, right? But then you rebounded at 50.5%, right? So they basically did more than recover. But then in 2022, they made 23.66 billion. So they increased even more. So not only did they lost in 2020, rebounded, and then added even more in 2021, and then they continued that increase as if nothing ever really happened in 2022 to 23.66 billion. So by that very notion, they made good on their profits. Now, how much does this dude make, as well as his other colleagues? Let's take a look. Executive salaries. So, Ford Motor Company. Billy Ford, William Clay Ford Jr. So his salaries, this includes equity, cash compensation, and other, $18,662,706. So equity is $13,785,209. Cash, which he collects a check, is $2,780,000, and then he gets another $2,097,000 in other. And so people will say, well, he just gets that in stock options and things like that. You can sell those stocks and get that money. That's also how they get around the taxes. Then James Farley Jr., right, who is the CEO, gets $22,813,174. His equity alone is over $16 million. Then he gets over $5 million in cash and then over $1 million in other. Then you have the CFO, Chief Technology Officer, and then this other guy who gets over 10 million. So they're sitting pretty while workers have to literally go on strike and put their livelihoods at risk just so that they can actually do okay financially. And is it fair? And so here's my thing. I hope Sean Fain sees the writing on the wall and says, everybody strike. Like, no more of this targeted strike here and there. Oh, we're going to strike at this plant. We're going to strike at that plant. No. No. They need to hurt. Now, the only thing that's a problem is that when it comes to striking workers, is that you have to have an adequate strike fund in order to take care of the workers while they're striking, which is tough. This is why mutual aid is so important, because with mutual aid, what happens is that a lot of striking workers are able to at least survive on the bare minimum while they're striking, so that they will still have their housing, their food, maybe even some healthcare, things like that. Unfortunately, that's not as feasible as we would like for it to be. This is why building mutual aid organizations is so important. And so ultimately, this is why people like myself, part of Revolutionary Blackout Network, we do mutual aid right now. We're trying to build things up so that we can not only help out the poor and unhoused people in our area, but also ultimately, if there's some workers that are striking, we can raise money and help striking workers who may be on the picket lines too. Or learn about how co-ops are built and see if we can help fellow workers out there turn different businesses into a co-op so that they can own the means of production. Ultimately, that's part of the goals, right? So that we can make it so that the workers are good no matter what. Because I honestly do not want to leave our fellow workers to the devices of people like William Ford. Because ultimately, it's about him and the shareholders. It's not really about the workers. And he may say, well, no, it's about the workers too. We just want, things to be fair. And the thing is, it's been more than fair to people like Ford. What happened in 2008 with the automakers? Didn't our government give them a huge influx of cash? How have we made out? Did we make out okay? How many plants closed? I don't see Oldsmobile or Pontiac around anymore. What about Mercury? I don't see that around no more. Right? Excuse me. But yeah, so that's what's going on there. Make sure to please like the stream as well. Pushes me out into the algorithm. I need it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, let's go to the chat. Let me check the rock really quick. All right, we are good on the rock. All right. Now, let me check, dare I say Rumble? Any Rumble rants on Rumble? I don't know. We'll check. Why not? All right. I think we're okay. Let me see. Oh. All right. So plants poop oxygen. I like that name. Says, what's up, comrades? Can't use YouTube today because it seems I've said too much about how effed up that Israel is enacting a genocide on Palestinians. Thank you so very much for that. Plants poop oxygen. Appreciate it. All right. Good to see you on the Rumble side. Now, let's go to the YouTube side and let's have a conversation. All righty here. Cobra Commander says, literally give themselves bonuses and threaten to make your family homeless. Yeah, that's pretty much how it is. Oh my goodness. Collins says the workers should walk away and surround the facilities, bankrupt the companies. I wouldn't be mad. But then a lot of people will say, but then how are the workers going to make their money if the companies go bankrupt? They're going to be screwed either way. And I'm like, well, they're already screwed because they're being underpaid right now. Call their bluff. That's what I say. Mastermind Hour says because the UAW spent the strike fund on 3 martini lunches. Okay, let's talk about how some of the union bosses sometimes side with the corporations. See, this is why I kind of look at Sean Fain with a bit of a side eye. First of all, I wouldn't have let Joe Biden come in with an anywhere near a bullhorn to speak to the workers. And then he gets to speak and then he only there for 15 minutes and then he gets to trot it off. No, absolutely not. I do not. No, I do not like that. Sean, you wrong for letting Biden speak. Sean, Biden shouldn't have been there. Now, here's my thing. If you're going to let Biden speak, then you should have invited all the other presidential candidates up there too. All of them. But did they come there? And also, while I agree you spoke out against Donald Trump, you should have also spoke out against Joe Biden too. Didn't he vote for NAFTA? You should have also spoke out against him. But I didn't hear you say a word about Joe Biden. You got to call it both out on both sides. That's my opinion. But yeah, that's the thing. Sulamoon says, seize the means. Yes. Gamer for Life says UAW sold out from the looks of it. This is why workers need to own. They need to own, baby. Oh. All right. Nope. Natalie Williams says, yes. Yes, they did. And the workers, that's what happened in 2008. Oh, let me see. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay. And then Suleiman says, worst pain and toughest job I had was pyrotechnics. Great benefits, though. Oh. Okay, you're talking about something else. All right. So yeah, I got no love. I got no love for these companies. And also, as an aside, I am a big proponent of, number one, we should have mass public transportation free at the point of service. And we should build it up to have high-speed mass public transit that crisscrosses this nation. If China can do it, so can we. And don't give me that, well, how are we supposed to go over and through the mountains? If we can build an interstate system that was built so that we can get our military to different parts of the country, that's when the interstate system was actually built on. We can do that. Then we can build a mass high-speed transit that crisscrosses this country. We can literally have roads and tunnels built under the ocean. Then we can build a massive high-speed transit system that crisscrosses this country. We can do it. It just takes the will. And you have to take that necessity for profit away. It needs to be built by the people, not by some corporate entity that just wants to make profit. But that's a whole other conversation that a lot of people aren't ready for. But you guys are ready for it. That's why you're here. But thank you. All right. So, final story. We got to get into it. Taste of their own medicine. Ooh-wee. There is some things brewing. Look, I'm going to tell you guys right now, y'all better stock up on your medicines right now. Don't walk, run. A fast strike is fast approaching, and you better get your medications filled at Walgreens or CVS now, or you could be in for a doozy, baby. Why? Let's take a look. This is some shit. I'm telling you right now. Because Walgreens, they're saying we are done. We're done with you. That I gotta do what you told me. You see. Oh my gosh. So, this is an article. It says Walgreens CVS workers plan nationwide strike. Nationwide is on your side. Pharmacy employees at Walgreens and CVS are in talks to organize nationwide walkouts and protests in late October. People familiar with the matter told CNBC. CVS pharmacy employees in Kansas City called out of work late September to protest heavy workloads and understaffing. Ooh-wee. Executives at the pharmacy chain met with the workers who returned to work after CVS agreed to pay overtime, increase staffing, and curb the amount of jab appointments. You know, as you guys know, I got to be careful what I say on here. Okay. Some Walgreens pharmacists followed suit, and some pharmacies closed across 4 states during the 3-day walkout. On Reddit, where the walkout was organized, workers reported that corporate leaders were visiting some locations. But unlike the labor action among CVS workers, the Walgreens walkout did not end with an agreement with the company's leaders. Sources confirmed to CNBC that Walgreens employees are planning a walkout to last from October 30th to November 1st. It's only 3 days. Look, y'all better. Anyway. And the organizers are in contact with CVS pharmacists and joining them. The main organizer for the labor action in Kansas City said that they are meeting with CVS leadership on October 20th, which is 3 days from now. And if that meeting is unsuccessful, then CVS workers will be 100% behind the national walkouts with Walgreens. A CVS spokesperson told Becker's the company is not seeing any unusual activity regarding unplanned pharmacy closures or pharmacist walkouts. Walgreens did not comment on another possible walkout, and a spokesperson said the company is recognizing it has been a very challenging time for its staff and is listening to employees' concerns. So, here is the thing. Why are they striking? It says to protest heavy workloads and understaffing. That's why. So, what does this mean for you and I that are just customers? Well, heavy workloads and understaffing basically means poor working conditions. So this is dangerous for people like you and me, right? Because many scenarios can happen. Some very dangerous scenarios can take place. It can happen from you getting the wrong medication to getting the wrong amount of your prescription. It could be a little too less of your prescription. It could be a little too much of your prescription, or not even getting your prescription filled at all. This can range from having an uncomfortable experience to a life-threatening issue. I really want to stress how important walkouts like this are. The reason being is because if your pharmacist is overworked and if they're facing poor working conditions, that is literally a threat to your life. I'll put it to you this way. You're about to fly on vacation, right? You got a good deal on your tickets, right? You're going on a decent airline, so you don't have to worry about it. Everything goes great. You get to the airport on time. You get to the gate, right? You even had it smooth when you went through TSA. Ain't nobody felt you up too much. And things went, they didn't even take you to the side for a special pat down. Everything went fine. You get to the gate. You get into the front of the line. And then they even said, you know what? Since you got priority seating, we're going to put you in first class because there's not too many people in first class, and we're just going to give it to you. All these good things happen to you. You get down to the jetway, and then what do you see? You see the pilot as you're boarding the plane, and he's looking at you like this. Hey, yeah, how you doing? How you doing? A concern comes over you. You're like, he looks exhausted. He looks tired. What's going on? I don't like it. He doesn't seem very alert. Do you still want to board that plane? If you knew that that pilot has been working 50 hours that week, they're going on their 51st, 52nd, 53rd hour, and they're exhausted beyond belief, are you going to be comfortable with having a pilot that's not well rested? Would you be comfortable with a surgeon that is not well rested before their surgery with you? Would you be okay with that? I wouldn't. If somebody is going to be measuring out the right amount of medications for me, I want them to be well rested. I want them to be within their right frame of mind when they're dealing with the substances that I have to put into my body. And yet, because of poor working conditions, they don't. And so it could be a matter of you getting 2.5 milligrams of something that's in your prescription to them not seeing that decimal point and them giving you 25 milligrams. And who ends up in the hospital? And who may wind up perishing because of that missed decimal point? All because they're overworked, they're fatigued, they're tired, they're taxed. This is why it is so important for them to do this walkout, for them to go on strike. Because if they're facing poor working conditions, that means those poor working conditions is going to blow back on you and me. This is why it is so important. Now, let's go to how much they're essentially making. Because don't they make enough? Doesn't CVS and Walgreens essentially make enough in order for them to pay to have enough staff? Walgreens gross profit and net earnings in the United States from 2005 to 2022. So if you look at it, 2005 to 2022. So over 10 billion. And now look at here. In 2022 is over $28 billion in gross profit. So it says in fiscal year of 2022, the U.S. drugstore chain Walgreens generated about $4 billion in gross profit, over 28 billion US dollars. So they're making hand over fist. And you got to remember, this is a part of Big Pharma. And you know Big Pharma makes a ton of money. So, Chief Executive Officer at Walgreens Boots Alliance, Inc., Rosalind J. Brewer, made $17,287,489 in total compensation. Of this total, $1.5 million was received as salary. $3.57 million was received as a bonus. $2.885 million was received in stock options, and $8.511 million was awarded as stock, and $820,000 came from other types of compensation. This information is according to proxy statements filed in the 2022 fiscal year. So, that's a lot of money. So, when it comes to companies like Walgreens and CVS, yeah, they can pay a lot more. And by paying a lot more, what I mean is they could definitely hire more people and do better for their pharmacists and their pharmacy techs, because that's ridiculous. So let me share this because I like this guy. His anger energizes me. And I hope he energizes you too. Gotta love this guy. My family's from Pennsylvania, so he got that Pennsylvania accent. And he screams like my family does in Pennsylvania. So let's go.
Hope y'all got your med refills set up for November 1st. Hope you got them ready. You got 2 weeks before November 1st. Make sure your meds are good because it sounds like Walgreens is about to go on strike. The pharmacies in the back of Walgreens, they're talking about going on strike, and it's not because of pay. It's not because of pay. It's because of conditions, okay? I know what you're thinking. I don't go to Walgreens. CVS is thinking about it too. CVS is thinking about going on strike. Some of their locations are, at least. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, I'll go to Rite Aid. Rite Aid just declared bankruptcy. And here's the conditions. Here's the problem that we're having right now. You see, you have these pharmacies and the pharmacy techs, right? You've gone to the pharmacy. You know what I'm talking about. If you get regular medication, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those people are running full sprint marathons for 8 fucking hours straight. Their whole shift is front to back running like dogs. They're trying to fill meds. They're trying to answer the phone. They're trying to answer the fucking register. They're trying to answer the fucking drive-through like it's a goddamn Wendy's. Then they're trying to administer vaccines and testing on people. They just added a minute clinic. A lot of these places now are demanding that the customers, like myself, go and order our medications through apps because we there's nobody to answer the phone. So we got to use an app, which means that the people working in the pharmacy have to show people how to use the app. And the people who are in front of me at the goddamn pharmacy are 89 years old and Korean War veterans, and they don't need to know how to use a fucking app on a goddamn Android. So these people are sitting there. They're making good money. The people working at these pharmacies, they are making good money. They just don't have enough fucking bodies to get through the day. And the thing is corporate isn't going to listen because corporate looks at the bottom fucking line and the bottom fucking line says, we're making good money and we ain't paying a lot of fucking payroll. That's the best thing that corporate could ever look for.
And that, kids, is what we like to call, say it with me, capitalism. The shareholders are happy. If the shareholders are happy, then the CEO is happy. Oh, see, the workers, we don't care about them. The shareholders, those are happy. You want to make the shareholders go like this. Ooh-wee! I get to have another yacht. Yippee! Take it away, my ginger compadre.
It's a KPI. It's a key performance indicator. They ain't looking at the performance that you and I look at when we see an employee in a pharmacy running back and forth, trying to teach a 78-year-old person how to open up the fucking iTunes store to download an app so they can order the fucking medication to get a boner again. They don't have to see that. They just look at a percentage at the bottom of a fucking spreadsheet, and then they turn to BlackRock and Vanguard and say, we're doing great, fellas. But we see it. We see the fear and the hesitancy and the fucking exhaustion in these people's eyes. And then as we're standing 15 people deep at 5:15 p.m. on a fucking Wednesday trying to get the medication we need because if we eat goldfish crackers, we get fucking heartburn at 39. We notice the same thing they notice, which is that there's 2 fucking registers here, and the second one has never been fucking open ever.
Oh, I can talk about this. Don't you hate that? Yo, it's literally like 2 registers and only 1 open, and they don't want to open the other one. And I'm like, call somebody in. Call them. Schedule somebody for that shift, especially at 5 o'clock. I'm sorry, this guy's making me mad. He's getting me riled up. At 5 o'clock, and then you're sitting there, you just got off dialysis, you're tired out your ass, and then guess what? You gotta wait. And then they got only 1 register open. And so then you're sitting there waiting for that prescription to be filled. You ain't got no car, so it's not like you can actually just go somewhere wait your 30 to 45 minutes for your prescription to be filled so that you can just come back and then get it. You have to just run around the store picking up bottles of Fleet to see, oh, wow, this really does rinse out your asshole, huh? So then, guess what? You have to wait there the entire time, and you ain't got that much money, and you're crossing your fingers, hoping that your insurance will pay for it. And then maybe, just maybe, you can use some of those extra bucks for that bag of peanut M&Ms. For them, what? For you to be ready to pass out because they don't want to hire enough people to man the registers. And so your pharmacist is tired. And what if they mess up on your prescription? And then you get hurt because they messed up. Or your kid gets hurt because they messed up. Oh, God. God forbid, right? God forbid. Take it away, Red.
There isn't enough staff, and they're not willing to hire. And I know what you're thinking. I'll go someplace else. A lot of them are starting to go under now. They're starting to go fucking bankrupt because those same fucking executives who went and said we have enough staff when we don't are the same ones who told all these pharmacies to look the other way when all these prescriptions for OxyContin were being written. And now those same fucking executives lost all of their fucking trials, and now they have to pay out. They have to pay out to the families and the victims that we lost to the opioid epidemic. So here we are. Here we are, just stuck in a cycle, back and forth forever.
Workers also include some of the people that hold your life in their very hands. That's also the workers, like the pharmacists and the pharmacy techs. Those are some of the people that are also workers among you. And if they do not have good working conditions where they can work in the best optimal conditions, then that literally puts you at risk. I have to get my prescriptions filled every month. And if they get something wrong, hopefully they don't, but if they get something wrong, who does it hurt? If you got a kid, and let's say your kid has been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease and they have to take a particular medication. That particular medication could be given in the wrong dose and your kid can be in big trouble. Or what if they don't give you enough of the medication that your kid needs? That's the point. This is why these corporations need to actually pay enough, but they just don't want to because of greed, because of capitalism, because they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, when in reality, their responsibility really should be to the people whom they serve. This is why I always say we need to nationalize our healthcare system. We should not have pharmaceuticals or pharmacy companies for profit. We should not. It should all be ran by the people. It should be just you go to the pharmacy and you get what you need, and it's paid for through taxation. That's it. That's all. And you pick up what you need at the pharmacy. That's because what else is there? Our pharmacists should not be going through this, and this is a result of cost cutting to retain profit, aka capitalism. Pharmacists are absolutely essential to our society, and if they don't have favorable working conditions or paid adequately, then that puts many of us as patients at risk. Solidarity with the workers, including pharmacists and pharmacy techs, because without them, many of us will be dead. So, did you guys like the stream? Go ahead and give it a like. Thank you so very much. And let's go to the chats, shall we? All right, kiddos. Get ready. We have a conversation. Cobra Commander says, show up to work and work acts like there's not enough work for you to have co-workers, so you have to work. Then they'll get fired and you don't. Oh my goodness. See, Tiana XOXO says it's because the corporations don't want to pay and train staff. They'll probably want to find a way to automate it. Yeah, they're probably going to try to do that. Tracy G says, saddest part is that these corporations know it is easier to pay out when an accident happens and replace a scapegoat pharmacist than it is to staff properly. That's the part that sucks the most, Tracy. I'm going to be honest with you. Sulamoon says, how about pharmacy shopping? Because the one you go to doesn't carry your script anymore. Fun times. Yeah. Or you have to go to one where some of them may charge less. Like, for instance, a lot of people were like, oh, well, you have to go to Walmart pharmacy because Walmart pharmacy actually charges less. Or instead of getting the name brand, you actually have to get like a store brand version of the drug, or the medication. But the problem is that the generic form of that medication somehow has more side effects than the name brand. And so you're kind of screwed if you have to pay through the nose for the name brand, even though it may be financially more beneficial for you to get the generic. You have to pay through the nose to get the name brand. It's horrible. It's just horrible. Gamer for Life says corporations don't care about workers and the wealthy love to exploit the workers. Exactly. Tiana says, look at Ross. It's self-checkout now. Really? Ross is self-checkout? Look, child, I haven't been to Ross or Marshall's or none of them in so long. Look, last time I went was to buy a present for somebody's baby shower. And I went there for somebody's baby shower, and I haven't been to a Ross or a Marshall since. Why? Because even I'm too poor for Marshalls and Ross. Subscribe to my Patreon. Look, it's horrible because I can't afford it. It says, used to have 9 registers open, and now only 2 people work in them. The capitalists are doing the capitalism. Absolutely. It just stinks. Making me do all the work myself as a customer. And then get out of here. CB, thank you so very much. CB says, talk about it. I'm talking about it, baby. Quantum Alchemist says, truth, yes. Thank you so very much. Natalie Williams says, our locally owned Bartell's Pharmacy got bought out by Rite Aid in 2020. Oh, God. You know what? Last time I saw Rite Aid was when I was visiting family in New Jersey from my grandmother's funeral. We do not have hardly any Rite Aids here in Florida. It's either CVS or Walgreens. Or if you go to Publix Pharmacy or Walmart Pharmacy. there's very, very little independently owned pharmacies in Florida anymore. Said last local owned pharmacy, and now they're going to be gone with the wind. Unfortunately, I do not like seeing locally owned pharmacies go out like Blockbuster Video, but that is the way the world works in capitalism, and that's what we're seeing right now. Oh my gosh! Natalie says, I paid nearly $500 a month with the state paying another $300 for health insurance I never used. Try to get catastrophic health insurance, but it's not offered anymore. Oh my gosh, Natalie. $500. Serena Sawyer says, it's supposed to be a pharmacy, not a pharmacy. Killier Grigor says, my friend quit his pharmacy tech job, working Amazon, now saying it's so much better than CVS. What? Wow. So he says capitalism will destroy itself one way or another. Yeah, it's going to hang itself with a rope that it purchases it sells it with. Tracy G says, I work in specialty med billing and insurance companies find any possible way to deny paying for meds. Government allows big pharma to set prices in this country with no regulation or bargaining. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And then on top of it, I got these horrible garbage companies from Medicare Advantage that call me all types of hours of the day trying to say, oh, well, are you interested in Medicare Advantage? We can help pay for your prescriptions. I'm like, man, get off my phone. Get off my phone, because I am not interested in no Medicare Advantage, because that basically means that I will be going to private insurance in order to be insured. Like, no. That's a big giveaway to the private insurance companies. No, 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 no. I'm keeping my Medicare. Do a couple more. Cobra Commander says they like automating the wrong parts of labor and production. How you gonna just not have customer service anymore, but shitty web page? Oh gosh. So yeah, that's what's going on, and y'all better stock up if you can on medications, because it is about to go down. Now, just so that you guys know, we are also still fundraising for the next mutual aid action here in Orlando. So if you guys would like to, you guys can donate. You guys can go to Cash App at $OrlandoRBN. We are going to be fundraising. We're fundraising for $3,000 for grocery gift cards, toiletries, and warm clothes. So this is where we're going to be doing for the month of December as an action. So if you guys would like to, you guys can also donate there. We're going to be doing that. I'm excited because I really, especially after that All Out for Palestine rally that we went to, we made some connections. We're going to be doing some more mutual aid. So if you guys would like to, you guys can go to Orlando RBN to donate as well, because it is very important to help out our neighbors, especially ones that are houseless within Orlando. So that's why we're doing this, and I'm excited to do another one. It's going to be great. So yeah. As well as I will be doing the readings for, since we were talking about books today, I'll be continuing the reading for Assata Shakur's autobiography. So be sure to stay tuned for that. I cannot wait to get into that as well. As well as I will be continuing the reading for one of my new favorites, Laziness Does Not Exist by Dr. Devon Price. I cannot wait. We'll be continuing the reading for that at the end of this week. So be sure to stay tuned for that as well. And in addition to, and furthermore, if you guys would like to, you guys can always go to my Substack. You guys go to jaybefaunt.substack.com so you can guys get email notifications for any live streams, clips, or articles that I may be writing. So yes, you guys got that there. And I will also be making clips out of this live stream if you guys would like to. You guys can also go to my merch store on Bonfire. I actually was wearing one of my shirts from my merch store at the March for Palestine this Saturday. And so that shirt was great. It was very comfortable. So I was actually very happy to wear it. It was comfortable, even though it was hot outside. I ain't gonna lie, but yeah, it was actually pretty good. Let me see. Do I have? Yep, I'll share it with you guys really quick because I haven't shared this in a while. But here is some of the stuff. So you guys have, of course, the Jaybefaunt channel shirts, right, with my logo on there. I like this too. It's like you can get one in like a red. That's pretty cool. But anyways, then you guys also have the Leave the World Better Than You Found It hoodies, t-shirts, and long sleeves as well. So that's there too. And then you guys also have the mugs and the tote with Leave the World Better Than You Found It. That's one of my mottos that I like to say. And I'll be trying to add more on a little bit later so you guys can get some more out of there as well. So yeah. Yeah, whoever, I don't know, like I'm trying to get to hats. I know they do hats, but for some reason it won't present that to me. So I'm trying to do that. So, but yes. Now, outside of that, thank you to all the patrons on Patreon, as well as the patrons on Coffee. And even though I am demonetized right now, thank you to the people who are still members, so that if my monetization does come back, you guys will continue as members. So thank you so very much to that. And like before, if you guys would like to and support, then you guys can go to either Patreon or PayPal. You guys can go to PayPal, just search Jaybefaunt, or you guys can also do that on Patreon. They're also linked in the description down below as well. So now I got to get going because I'm hungry. I haven't eaten today. All I have was some tea. So I got to go. By the way, I forgot. A big happy birthday to my great nephew. Oh my gosh. I can't believe that. I can't believe it. He's a year old now. Oh my God. You guys want to see him? Okay. I'm going to show you. He is adorable. You guys are going to be like, oh, okay. All right. Hang on. He's so cute. Hang on. Oh my gosh. Let me share my screen. Oh, he turned a year old yesterday, so I'm going to his party in a little bit. It's going to be great. Look at him. Isn't he cute? Oh my gosh. So happy birthday to my little Robbie. He's so cute. It's my great nephew. I'm a great uncle. Oh my gosh. Yes, he's a year old today. I'm sorry, yesterday. So I'm so happy. And he's fluffy like me. Yes. All right, everybody. So I'm going to be going. Oh, Lord, his mama's calling me now. Oh, my goodness. But anyways, so like I always tell everybody, look, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found them. Smoke them if you got them, drink them if you got them. Make sure to stock up on your medications to keep yourself safe. And thank you to everybody who has reached out regarding the monetization. Oh, special thank you also to everybody that shared the tweet, me addressing YouTube, as well as a special thank you to Kit from Hard Lens Media for helping me out. That meant a lot. So thank you so very much. Special shout out to you as well. And forehead kisses. I love every single one of you for watching, and take care and have a good night. And keep fighting, because that's important. Oh, free Palestine. Don't forget.